So today is the 11th of Elul. Though not necessarily the origin of the name of the month, Elul is an Aramaic word that means to look or to search out. In the run-up to the High Holy Days, Elul offers us an opportunity to look inside ourselves, a time when traditionally we are encouraged to do a Heshbon HaNefesh, a personal accounting, typically in preparation for the days of judgment when we will need to give a reckoning of our lives over the past year before Hashem. After coming across an article by Alan Moranis, founder of the Musar Institute, I'd like to share a methodology for Heshbon HaNefesh that, rather than a personal accounting in the nature of preparing for a legal defense of our actions of the past year, is more in the nature of an accounting of the soul, an opportunity to look inward, consider the areas we need to work on to be a better version of ourselves, and provides a pathway to get there. This methodology was first articulated by Rabbi Menachem Mendel Levin in his book called, unsurprisingly, Heshbon HaNefesh, and published in the Ukraine in 1812. First, compose a list of 13 qualities that you observe in yourself. These could be viewed as either strengths or weaknesses, but generally these are the traits that trip you up or hold you back in one way or another. Are we too quick to speak our mind or too slow? Does our ego make us arrogant? Or is the opposite the case and we become doormats walked over by others? These could be traits that we either have too much of or too little of. Do we have too much anger or not enough calmness? Too little anger presented as neutrality or lack of caring might also be a possibility. Ultimately, any trait that could benefit from some measure of change belongs on the list. Second, in addition to identifying the 13 qualities, create a set of reminder cards or another list with not only the 13 traits you've identified, but also a phrase for each that captures the ideal of each of the listed qualities. These phrases could be a dictionary definition, a Bible verse, a poem, a popular song lyric, or your own creative thought. Rabbi Levin provided some of his own in Heshbon HaNefesh. For decisiveness, he says, all of your acts should be preceded by deliberation. When you have reached a decision, act without delay. For righteousness, he relies on the Talmud. What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. One trait that I might need to work on is dwelling on the negative of every situation. I might rely on the words of the famous Rabbi Bob Marley. Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing's going to be all right. You get the idea. Start with the first trait. And for a week, when you wake up, read your catchphrase. Slowly, aloud, chanting it, silently, whatever it takes to fully internalize and focus on the phrase. According to Moranis, it should become a neon sign in your mind. Throughout each day, try your best to live up to the ideal stated in the catchphrase on the reminder card. Each night, reflect on your day to identify what, if anything, revealed the presence of the quality you are working on that week. Record your thoughts and experiences that relate to that trait during your day. Some days it will be obvious, others less so. As Sergeant Friday would say, just the facts, ma'am. Don't keep score or grade or judge yourself. Rather, the point is to give yourself a readout on the presence of this trait in your life and the source material to examine yourself, recognize your tendencies, and ultimately improve yourself. If, for example, one of your traits is decisiveness, on the day you begin the practice in the following 6 days, repeat the phrase, all of your acts should be preceded by deliberation. When you have reached a decision, act without delay. Go over it, repeat it, imprint it on your mind. Each night, record those things that happened to you that day that reveal something about the presence or absence of decisiveness in your day. You might note, I couldn't decide about a major purchase, or I doubted my analysis of the facts I learned. After 7 days, move on to the next quality with its own phrase for 7 days. In the course of a year, each quality will come up 4 times. In this way, we can gain an understanding of how the traits we have identified play out in our lives, in turn illuminating the nature of ourselves and what we need to focus on to be our best. As Moranis writes in his book, Climbing Jacob's Ladder, the central point of Heshbon HaNefesh is really to reveal to the consciousness the contents of the unconscious mind. These are, by definition, hidden from us. And so no matter how hard we peer directly into our inner selves, we won't uncover anything of what lurks below the surface. But because the contents of our unconscious are perfectly reflected in the patterns of our deeds, Certain images return night after night, and the patterns become unmistakable. We need this truth about ourselves to guide our steps on the path to deep, lasting, fulfilling transformation. And in fact, as soon as we have brought to light those soul traits that might have otherwise continued to live in darkness, we have already begun to change. The accounting of the soul practice provides tools to audit our inner lives and in turn to engage in teshuvah, a return to our best and truest selves. As the identified traits are examined over the course of a year, we can produce a transparent and accurate balance sheet of our lives. As our conscious minds gain access to the features and tendencies of the unconscious, we become aware of the traits that mold our everyday existence, thoughts, feelings, and actions. In this way, Heshbon HaNefesh gives us awareness for the inner journey of the High Holy Days and sets us on course for the transformation we are called on not only this season, but throughout the year. Shana Tova.